Well, welcome everybody. My name is Deborah Shield. I lead the peer review team here at the Teaching Academy, and I welcome you to this session and I welcome you to the process. For some of you, you may be more familiar with it than others, so bear with me as I go through this information, but a very warm welcome, and to those of you who aren't here, also a very warm welcome. We like to have a community of people together as we go through, well, throughout the Teaching Academy, but as we go through the peer review process. Welcome, welcome. I am sharing my screen, so I will start with an acknowledgement of country. I acknowledge the Ngunnawal and Ngambri people whose ancestral lands I greet you from. I'm here in Canberra on that country, that beautiful country. I pay my respect to the elders, both past and present, acknowledging them as the traditional custodians of knowledge for these places, and that this land has never been ceded. All right, so if you'd like to share in the chat which country you're coming to us from, you're very welcome to. It's always interesting to know. Just jumping into this session, what I'll do is I'll provide you an overview and I will jump in and out. I will pause every now and then. I'll try to get a sense from those of you who have got your cameras on, if you want to ask questions. If not, hands up, we'll go through it. But I'll pause every now and then and invite questions. An overview of this, it's your peer review for promotion is required because under the academic promotion procedure, it notes that if you're putting in a promotion application, you're going to have to include a couple of things. One is your SUES ratings, and the other is a summative peer review. Now, I've mentioned summative, I've highlighted summative, very much like formative and summative assessment. A summative peer review looks at the evidence you as a peer reviewee gather and then makes a evaluative judgment on it. And in our case, the peer reviewer makes comments on that evidence you've provided and how it aligns to your claims of teaching capability. It is specifically aligned to teaching capability. In this case, it's not a peer review that you may be used to with your research documents, etc. It is a peer review of teaching capability. And what we do is we put you in the driver's seat. We want you to drive this yourself, to say, for my promotion, I'm good at teaching. This is what I'm particularly good at. And there's a couple of areas you can go. So I will cover them for you when I say what areas you can go, what areas of practice you can focus on. The peer review, the promotion processes at Charles Sturt are managed by the Division of People and Culture. I've got links to them, and the peer review process, or the peer review team, supports that. So we support the Division of People and Culture. The peer reviewer, you might be thinking, well, who does this peer review? Here at the Teaching Academy, a number of us will do expert peer reviews for you, for people, as necessary. But generally, we rely on a fabulous community of voluntary colleagues at levels, all sorts of levels across the university, but at higher levels, lower levels than you, etc., who do these peer reviews. And we generally look to match you with a peer reviewer who is a level above and who is outside your school and faculty. Occasionally, you'll be within the same faculty, but outside your school and often outside your discipline. Now, when you hear that, don't stress on that. Some people are like, how can people know what I'm talking about if I'm outside my discipline? But what you're doing is you're creating, to support your promotion narrative, you're creating a narrative of what excellent teaching you do in your context. So a peer reviewer can look at that and say, here's the evidence, here's the claim, and yes, this is what I see as a peer reviewer. This is what I see in the teaching practice. So that's the overview for you. I'm going to stop there, just pause it for a moment and see any hands, any questions. Feel free to come off mute or to come put your screens on. Oh, no problem. So the peer review reports, it's important that the outcome of this process for you is a peer review report, which you have reflected on, recorded your reflections, you've submitted your evidence separately, and your peer reviewer has gone in and made comments. I'll show you the peer review template. I'll show you what one looks like so that it's not a surprise to you. But it gets sent by our team. The peer reviewer sends it to us. It gets sent by our team to the DPC promotions team. They then link it up to your promotion application. You do have timeframes. There are very specific timeframes to do this, which are included in your intent to apply. But for us, the peer review request for peer review has to be in by the 30th of April. We then match you with a peer reviewer in the first week of May. So really important that you jump in as soon as that reviewer matched up to you, make contact with them, make a time. It might not be that week, but make a time that suits both of you within I'd suggest a fortnight of getting that and start the process. In the meantime, you are starting it right now. We're going to go through things right now. Come back and watch this session anytime you want, but there's lots of links in where you can go, what you can look at, how you can start your process. The promotion committee considers peer review as part of the application process. So if you think of your application for promotion process documents, etc., as a puzzle, peer review forms a little part of that puzzle. I think it's a significant part because it talks about your teaching practice and someone else looking at your teaching practice. Nevertheless, it is part of it. It is one part of a much larger process and application that you'll be going through in this time. Now, I wanted to know really early, really upfront, as peer reviewers, we do not make a judgment as to whether you're ready for promotion, nor do we make a judgment as to whether you have met the teaching capabilities framework level. What we make a judgment on is that you've said, I really support diverse students in my context, and this is my context, and you've given us the evidence, and this is shown by XYZ, and you send us out to the evidence, to your SES results, to perhaps emails you've got from people, to new designs of learning that you've come up with, to a new assessment regime, to feedback on how that's impacted your practice. We look at the evidence, look at the claims and say, yes, you have demonstrated that you're able to apply a constructive learning approach to XYZ, or that you support diverse learners by XYZ. So that's an important thing to keep in your mind. The promotion committee makes decisions on promotion. Okay, this is just a supporting, this is a wonderful supporting part of that puzzle. Okay, the next one, I talked about educational practice. So when you applied for your peer review, you've probably ticked one of these boxes. Don't worry, we can change them, or there may be a link between them, but direct teaching, it includes learning, assessment, teaching strategies, synchronous, asynchronous learning, face-to-face, clinicals, work with people. It includes all those things. So it's a very broad category. Often people who are moving from A to B or B to C, in some cases C to D, have this as a major part of what they're applying for. You then get the work integrated learning. So some of you are going to have much more to do with work integrated learning than others. That is another area you can focus on, should you wish. And high degree by research supervision. High degree by research supervision is a teaching practice. So when you're looking at getting your teaching practices, when you're doing high degree by research supervision, you'll be able to include that in a peer review. And then educational leadership. Many of us have roles such as this that are other, that maybe require professional contact outside of the university, that may be looking at course reviews, etc. So educational leadership. The reason why we offer these categories is because we need to match you with a peer reviewer who has capability and capacity in that particular area, in your preferred area of focus. So that's why it matters. It doesn't matter that you might have a number of different elements of that. It matters that that we can match you where at all possible with someone who is able to do your review. Now, I see that a number of people have come in a little later. Once again, welcome. I also see there's some chat, so I'm going to pause that for a moment and ask you to come off speaker if you'd like to talk, ask any questions, if you need anything confirmed by me for now. Yes, Peter.
Yeah, good morning, thanks. I remember when signing up to attend this workshop, there was an option of teaching peer review or HDR supervision. So are there different workshops for the teaching, for the peer review and the HDR supervision? Because I could go either way for my personal circumstance. And so I'm still deciding on whether I should use the peer review approach or the HDR supervision approach, or even both, if possible.
Okay, so the peer review is for all of the categories. The reason we use that is we match them up. Should you decide to go for HDR supervision, we will match you with a reviewer who can review, can do a sensible, sound, credible peer review on HDR supervision practices. You're quite right. You may, when we get to the teaching capability framework, you may choose three that actually have an element of each of those things. It's much more important that we get you with the right reviewer. So you don't have to make a decision now. There's not a separate workshop that you have to do. You're in the right place. We'll work through it with you. Always really good once you get your head around the teaching capability framework, which underpins the peer review process at Charles Sturt, that you're able to talk to your manager, talk to supervisors, talk to peers, and make your own judgment as to, well, what evidence do I have that supports my promotion narrative that I can give to a peer reviewer who knows about XYZ. So hopefully that helps, Peter. Good. I like to get up front with this one as well, with direct synchronous observation. Some of you will want somebody in your class while you're teaching. Now, of course, those of you who teach online, that doesn't have to be synchronous. That can be asynchronous. That can be at a different time that it's happening. It can be asynchronous. For those of you who really do want someone to see you in the class, let us know very, very quickly if it includes a direct observation of your teaching practice. Now, when I say let us know, let your peer reviewer know. On the 5th of May, by the 5th of May, when you get their name, contact them and say, look, before the end of session, I've got these 3 or 4 areas where I would like someone to review my teaching practice directly. And then make sure they can also access your Brightspace site. They can access everything they need to do that. Those in-class peer reviews we have found over the years are far less frequent than people may expect, mainly with your teaching practice and mainly when you're constructing your teaching narrative. You're able to record a session that you may particularly want them to see. You're able to provide evidence in other ways of that rather than a direct observation of teaching. But please, if you do want one, do nominate the time and the place as quickly as you can, because you will be, May is going to be toward the end of the session, so you'll want someone to fit in with you where they can. When we match, we call it matching, when we match our peer reviewers and peer reviewees, we try to match them on a campus or a campus nearby so that we can facilitate that direct observation of teaching practices if that's what you need. Okay. And the peer review process is fairly straightforward. Again, if this is your first touch point of it, I'll go through this so that you see, but basically you select your teaching capabilities. Now, this is, as I've mentioned a couple of times, from the teaching capabilities framework, which is pretty much the next slide. So that is the first thing to do, or the first thing to think about. You'll then have an initial meeting with your reviewer. You're the reviewee. You arrange that initial meeting once you get the introduction email. You'll say, hello, Deborah. Glad to be matched with you. When's a good time to meet? Or I'm free here or not free there. So do that as quickly as you can is our advice. Just so you know, the last day for your peer review report to be submitted is Wendy, you could check this if you need to, but the 31st of August. So we work back from that. So June is when we like to get them. The end of July is when we get them, so that your manager can look at them and they can sign off as part of the promotion process. This part, the reflection and recording, this is where you review on your selected capabilities. So this is sort of, Peter, probably where you're getting at, where you'll really make that final decision. What evidence am I providing against this framework? And how can I ensure my reviewer E can help celebrate my learning practice? How can I showcase my learning practices, my teaching practices, to best support my promotion application? So there's templates, there's initial evidence, what you're going to provide. I suggest you do that well before you meet with your peer reviewer, because they will be able to guide you on that. I see there's a question there. I will get to it. You then submit your evidence to the reviewer. So you liaise with them, you have a conversation, and then you submit the evidence and you agree how you're going to do that. For many people, it's on OneDrive and it's called promotion evidence for X or peer review evidence. And often people put it under their capability, whichever one they've chosen. So the reviewer will then read all the supporting evidence. Now, they have they're volunteers, but they have approximately 5 hours. We say this whole process takes. So your first meeting, your discussions, and then the actual review and the preparing of the report. So they won't read all course materials. What you're doing is you're going to succinctly note, this is my evidence, this is where it links. So in your reflection, you're bringing that story together for your reviewer. Okay, they do the assessment. I think I touched on that. At this stage, they will actually conduct it, enter the comments in the template. Very often they'll talk to you again, but it's a summative peer review. It's not formative. Now, the nature of Charles Sturt academics and collegial processes tend to be that you do talk to each other. It's part of the joy of the process, part of what people really give us feedback that they like about it. They connect with colleagues, someone different looks at the work, they get information from it. So be aware of that it is a summative one. The more time you give your peer reviewer to look at your things, to get back to you, the better. If you're lodging it a week before it's due, you're pushing the boundaries there of how beneficial it can be to you. But that is how it works. The review emails the completed form to us. We send it off, as I noted earlier, to academic promotions. I see that you've got a question down there, Suman, so I will get to you. But the peer review team sends it off to academic promotions team. We also include you and provide a copy for you. And then DPC will submit it, or the DPC then gives you instructions of what to do with your peer review, or what they do with your peer review prior to closing off your promotion application. All right. So Suman, I see that you had a question if you'd like to come off.
Yeah. Thank you, Deborah. So my question is, I recently did as a provisionary period, so Foundation of Learning Teachings. So yes. I did the portfolio on the peer review. So can I use this as an alternative, or it can't be used for the promotion review, the peer review that I have already with the Foundation of Learning and Teaching?
All right. The foundation of learning and teaching peer review you got was a formative peer review. So you probably had a series of discussions with people to say, let's focus on tech, using tech in Brightspace. Okay, I tried this, it didn't work. We did try this. Have a look at this scholarly reading on learning and teaching practices. So you probably had some interaction with them. It's a different process. Just on a related note, I will note that peer reviews for promotion last for 2 years. So if you get one this year and you don't use it to next year, that's not a problem. They do last for 2 years. But Suman, no, you will need a different peer review for your promotion process. The advantage is that you've had the capability frameworks. You may choose to use similar evidence. You may choose to use the same evidence if you wish, but remembering this supports your promotion narrative. Link it, as my suggestion, respectfully, link it to your promotion story as much as you can. Have it showcase your teaching practice. It's not a developmental peer review. It's a summative peer review to say, yeah, when they say this, they do that.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, you are right. It's a different, we have to have the narrative that supports the promotions. Yeah. Thank you.
I think so. No problem. Anyone else? Okay. All right, I've been talking about it. The Teaching Capabilities Framework. And again, many of you will be familiar with this, given you've probably just done your PPDR work, but you may not be. It underpins the peer review process. It is not a peer review framework. It's a Charles Sturt framework. So this is a university level framework. We're required to use it for peer review. I'm going to orient you to the peer review, the Teaching Capabilities Framework. And Wendy, if you don't mind, could you just pop in a link to that for people? People might want to open it. Otherwise, you can jump in and have a look at it. But on the site, it's a self-assessment. It's both a framework and a self-assessment tool. But this is what it looks like. It has 12 dimensions or capabilities. They link to our strategic pillars, which is empower, inspire, and be exceptional. So I'm just going to start showing you through that each of these has a headline, if you'd like, but then it has level descriptors. And when I say align to your level descriptors, that's one of the things we have found, that many people look at this and say, oh yes, I do an inclusive learning experience. That's something I pride myself on. And you do. You know, educators at Charles Sturt are good. It's lovely to see. But what you're looking for is evidence so that your peer reviewer can have a look at this and say, okay, Deborah's going from C to D. How does she engage by creating, establishing, facilitating evidence-based and scholarly informed learning and teaching experiences for staff and students at school level? That's what it says. So if you're at C, you'll be able to probably show that you can do it at course level. You may have had some experience doing it at subject level, but it's not a matter of your teaching strategies being inclusive. It's a matter of you having evidence to show these levels. Again, let's have a look at adopt effective teaching practices aligned with institutional expectations. At a level B, you engage with and evaluate your own contributions to teaching, effective teaching practice, and develop approaches and strategies that support learners at subject level aligned with institutional expectations. So at that time, your reviewer, as a peer reviewer, you'll give me evidence to say, yeah, I do this, but how does it align at institutional level? That's what your reflection will show. That's what your evidence will also show. It will show your teaching practice, of course it will, but it must also link to these levels. That's what we find people sometimes miss a little bit. And as peer reviewers, we're trying to construct that ourselves when the evidence you present. So much better if you can, well, actually it's a requirement if you can do that. It's better for you. You're showcasing your teaching. You're saying, yes, I can do this. And this is how I do it. And here's all my evidence. And here's my narrative. Again, looking at the level C, it's a little bit different. It's course level aligned with institutional expectations. And then D, higher again, and E, and it's engaging with support others to improve. So these are aligned to the evidence requirements for the academic promotion for levels A to C as well, not just in the teaching capability framework. So bear that in mind. May I suggest you bear that in mind? And there's 12 to choose from. You're demonstrating leadership in learning and teaching. Those of you who want to go down that path. It specifically talks about engaging with the education vision strategy and the design and delivery of it. It's relevant to school committees, course committees, that kind of thing at level C. So read further down. Now, Peter, I'm aware that you had asked, and I'm sorry, I'm just jumping because you've asked the question, but you... the HDR supervision is sometimes in these be exceptional categories or dimensions. So peer review and collaborative peer learning practices, possibly not with your HDR supervision, but it depends, you may well do. But you mentor peers and build capacity in learning and teaching. Number 10, there's engage in scholarly activity and contribute to the higher education sector. So number 11 is often one there, depending which level you're going from. And hello and welcome. I see that you're waiting. So 12 is engage with it, and 12 is successfully engaged with reward and recognition opportunities. So if you've already got some of that reward and recognition, you've got evidence. You're able to say, yeah, I do this. This is what I do. I did a Teaching Academy grant. I got a fellowship. I've got X, I've got Y. So do take the time to engage with this teaching capabilities framework and frame what you're wanting to present to support excellent teaching practice in your promotion. Frame it at these levels is my very strong suggestion for you. All right, I'll go to some questions. I see your hand is up. Bella, please feel free to turn on and speak.
Hello, Deborah. Thank you so much for the information. If you please, I'm a bit confused in regards to the levels. So, for example, if I am level B and the aim for promotion is for level C, like, am I meeting like the teaching capability framework for like at the subject level, which is saying level B, or I have to have at the course level, so which is level C? So do you get what I mean? Sorry.
I do. I understand exactly what you mean. And from this point of view, the Division of People in Culture have an information session. I think Wendy sent you to the details. It's due on around the 20th of April, but they will speak more clearly on this. This is always a question that comes up. What evidence am I providing? Provide your best evidence to support your promotion claim. So you're saying, I'm performing at level, let's say I'm performing at level B, I want to go to C in your promotion application. You have a narrative to say, I should get to C because, and the evidence guide and the policy around that is quite clear that you need to demonstrate why we should be promoted and any of us should be promoted to the next level. So this is why engaging with this teaching capabilities framework is really important. What can you show best? That's my advice to you. It's not a developmental peer review. It's not saying, Deborah, I'd really like to improve this. Can you help me? Let's do some scholarship. This is a summative peer review where you're saying, I think I should get to level C. And this is what I've got. This is what I do. This is how I do it. This is how it impacts. This is why it matters. And you convince your peer reviewer of that to some extent, or you say, look, I'm performing at this fantastic level. I'm capable of performing at that level. And this is why I say that. This is my evidence for that. So, yes, your manager does have a role to play in this, in your whole promotion application. They have to say that you're performing, I think, I mean, I'm pretty sure, do speak to them, but they have to say you're performing to the level as required. So they can guide you on some of this. They will be able to guide you on some of this. Well, what can I show?
Yeah, thank you so much. So it means like it is it's something like in between. So I'm meeting my level and I can meet the upper level. So it's sort of
Many
like this.
people, well, many people by the time they apply for promotion are in fact doing things at the next level. So some people are able to provide that. If you're struggling or not struggling, it will help you to guide which capability is best for you. To know, well, where can I show I operate at the level C? Where can I, if that's what I'm going for? And I'm not saying that you have to, you're a level B academic, but that's where many people actually do operate at some of these higher levels. But the promotion committee will look at your whole promotion application. And that's why it's important to remember this is one part of it. It's a part of your whole application. It's a supporting part.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. And Hasib, thank you for waiting.
All right, Deborah. Thank you very much for your time. So, my first question is have already been discussed, so I will not take much time for that. It makes sense. Like if I'm working at a level B or a level C and I want to promote to the next level, like level D or level C, obviously I have to provide the justification or some evidences to prove that like I'm already performing at this level C or D to the level I want to be promoted, something like that. So it makes sense. So you are already performing a little bit above than the level you are already working. So it gives you more chance of promotion because you are already meeting some higher levels. So that's why you are claiming in your promotion application, like I have already performed these things, which can meet up the requirement of the upper level. So it makes some sense. Yeah. So I will just quickly jump to the next question. I put that question in the chat as well, but I will take the chance here to ask it here because I was just like thinking about those teaching research articles which we used to write during our teaching and research as well, and some oral presentations, some keynote lectures, some presentation at the conferences, seminars, or if we be able to conduct some workshops, or like if you are convening some seminars, or you started some ideas, or you started some new things in the school, like doing some teaching and research activities, where they exactly you fit? Like they are in some teaching framework, or is it like it's in the teaching, or is it in the research? That is my question.
Thank you for your question. I will just step back to your first one and note about the levels. And just to be very clear, our peer reviewers don't judge whether you're at that level. Our peer reviewers comment on the evidence you provided against your claims. So that's interesting. The promotion committee makes that judgment. Have you met this requirement? But as a peer reviewer, you're saying, here's my evidence, it's at level B or C. Here's my reference to the framework. And then they judge on that. So just to be clear on that. Right. With regard to the teaching, research, etc., a lot of people, I came straight down to the leadership, must be demonstrate leadership. So depending what level you're at, now you may use this framework. You may be at a certain level and actually in some areas be performing at level C or D, as you indicated. You can link that in. You can say, well, this is the kind, when you're using your reflection, the kind of language you can use reflects this framework. So that's one thing, leadership in learning and teaching. So if you're presenting at your school or your committees, or you're driving innovations within your area, then that is a nice one to look at. But what many people look at for the HDR is very often it's continuous self-review and improvement. It does depend, because with your HDR students, you have relationships with them, often personal, over often long periods of time. So it's more than you developing. It's more than them developing or doing their HDR studies. It's you developing, also developing your skills, developing how you deal with each of them, etc. So that's one to consider. But the be exceptional ones are also mentor peers for learning activities, etc., to build capacity. Engage in scholarly activity that contributes to the HE sector. So when you're talking about if your conferences, leadership, that's a nice one. That's often a really nice one for people to use, depending what evidence they've got. And reward and recognition opportunities, depending what level you look at, but collaboratively with peers to share good practice, to look at CSEDX, communities of practice, teaching academy, those kinds of ones at C. But at D, much more out there, much more external focused. So that might be something, Haseeb, that I see you nodding. Hopefully that makes sense to you. So have a look at those couple. I had potentially as a first pass on it. You don't have to make a decision today. You don't have to make a decision for quite some time. But
so I have already observed all these 12 teaching frameworks domains. So another question linked to that is, we have selected or we have to select 2 of these teaching capabilities when we were doing that foundation of learning and teaching. So once we finish with that foundation of learning and teaching, we have to reflect on our 2 of the selected teaching capabilities framework. So my question is that, should we have to stick with those teaching capabilities when we are going to apply for our promotion sort of application, or we can change it as well in the later time?
Anything. And you're looking at 3, so you will get a broad spread. That you'll be able to get a broad spread of these. You're looking at 3. It doesn't matter if they're consecutive. It doesn't matter what order they're in. It doesn't matter if one focuses on HDR and one focuses on leadership and one focuses on actual teaching, direct teaching practice. But what matters is that we get an idea of that, so we can link you with a peer reviewer who can do this. And as you get up the levels, as our peer reviewers are higher levels, they're able to often do a lot of this stuff. To talk to you when you have your first discussions with them, you can talk through what you thought you might look at these 3, but is there another one, etc. So prepare for those conversations.
So I have already taken a lot of time, but my last question is just in my mind. I just want to ask, when we are going to apply for this next level promotion, so do we have to put the evidences for whatever you did here in the CSU, or can you add the evidences from your previous job as well, which you did in some other institutes prior to joining here in the CSU? Like if you have a lot of experience working with this teaching and research in your old institute, and you have worked a lot of years there. So can you be able to provide those evidences and link it with your promotion as well, or it's only what you have did here in the Charleston?
This is a question that I hear the DPC promotions team get asked frequently. My understanding is you can bring in recent ones, but do check that with your manager. And I'll send you a link to last year's, I'll send out a link to everyone if you'd like it. Last year, in fact, Wendy, you might have already done it. Last year's DPC session, they did speak about this. This question does come up because some people, you do have to meet the promotion criteria to be able to apply for promotion at CSU, and that may have a minimum time at CSU. But do check that. Do check that for you from a promotion perspective. What from a peer review perspective, what I need is for my peer reviewers to be able to say, yeah, I can access this evidence. I can see what they're saying. I can go into the Brightspace site or the X or the conference papers for this, etc., and see what they're actually saying. But do double check about the timeframes required from a Charles Sturt perspective. from the promotions team. From a peer review one, we'll look at the evidence we get as long as the promotions team has okayed that with you. Okay, lovely. I can't see any more hands or anything. So again, that was the orientation, how to engage with level descriptors. A lot of this now will be moving on from that, trying to give you a little bit of tips of, well, tips is such a trite thing, isn't it? But really it is. It's about how to prepare. We do surveys after each year, after the peer review process, and find out, well, what would people have liked to have known? How can we improve? So engaging with the DPC information on peer review requirements and timeframes is really important. Now, the timeframes, I'm going to link out to that. Many of you probably have seen them. Just in case you haven't, bear with me. They have lots of information about applying and the key dates. So that's what I mean. Make sure you work with that you work with your key dates, that you've got your peer review request. All of you have, because you're here, but if you're talking to other colleagues, etc., your intent to apply needs to be in certain dates. Your research activity information needs to be in. Any qualification equivalents, any promotion mentor, if you're looking for a promotion mentor, not peer review mentor, promotion mentor, DPC does that. So they have a lot of information on their site. So prepare for your promotion, noting that peer review supports your promotion process. So they're not terribly independent. Try to integrate them as much as you can. I think I've said this, engage with your reviewer early to set timeframes and evidence expectations. So do engage with them early, do figure out what suits the both of you. And I have to say, our feedback is, and just the observation, I've been doing this for years now, it's a terribly rewarding process. You're showcasing your excellent teaching. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Select the 3 capabilities to support your application, of course. Develop a brief synopsis of your teaching context, content, and approach. That really helps your peer reviewer, really helps. It will help all through your application process, we've been told, but certainly from a peer review point of view, it helps us. Consider the range of evidence you can provide. So you're going to be able to provide a substantial amount of evidence, probably. And I think I say a little bit later on, it's not a shopping list. Look at depth, both breadth of evidence, but depth, so that your peer reviewer who's got a limited time can look at it and say, yeah, that brings together all these claims. That supports what they've said. So consider what you can provide to demonstrate your achievement, and have conversations with your manager to ensure they support your application. They will also be able to guide your peer review to say, look, you're really good at this, or we've got lots of evidence of that. So may I suggest you do that. When you do get your pre-review meeting, so your first meeting with your peer reviewer, discuss it. Tell them what you're about, what your approach is. I'm going to use the word teaching philosophy. That might not resonate with all of you, but that's what it is. How do you approach teaching? What is it about you that we want to celebrate and get that promotion? Discuss how your reflections connect your practice to the capabilities. So that's a piece of work to do, and to talk with them, and then share your initial ideas about the evidence you plan to produce. Many of people who you're going to get paired with have done this many times. They will provide great guidance. They'll know when you talk about disciplinary specific things. Most of them will have a very, very good idea of what it is you're talking about. So don't feel you have to dumb anything down. It's your teaching context, content, and practices. And by the end of that first meeting, you should have discussed really the 3 teaching capabilities that you'll provide evidence for. So you might go in with 4 or 5, and then you'll come out with 3. The type and amount of evidence you'll provide, and the timelines with them that you'll say, look, I'll have that to you by the end of May, or whenever it is that you're going to do it. So that's something to aim for. Now, this Padlet will be available to you at any time after this session, so please know that you can go back and have a look at this as you need. Okay, and then we've got... Okay, I think I've said this, but showcasing it means gathering and organising evidence that highlights your impact. Not that you need help on, that highlights your impact. Grab it, keep it clear, keep it accessible, have it somewhere where the reviewer can find it. Store evidence in a way that allows easy access and keep it concise. They just can't read extensive course content. They may choose to, many of us do, because it's just interesting, but our advice is gather it and keep it tight. We then have informed critical reflection. Kashila is the director of the Teaching Academy. She did many of these reviews for the higher level last year, and she said, look, she asked me to just confirm that critical reflection is really important. It will help everybody in this process. So I've gone into the University of Edinburgh. I use this often. There's a reflection toolkit, but it talks about you can use a couple of reflective cycles. You can use any reflective cycle you want or any reflective practice that works for you. There is no requirement to use any, but this link is quite helpful. It talks about Gibbs' reflective cycle. It talks about the so what now, what next. It also has integrated reflective cycle, which talks about your experience, etc. Remembering what you're doing is you're constructing this narrative so that you can give the peer reviewer the evidence to support it, to say, this is what I did in my teaching practice, this is what worked well, this was the impact, and this is what I did, and this is why it matters, and this is why I should get a promotion to level X. Okay, so that's there. Many of you will have your own process with that. And the types of evidence. We talked about the types of evidence. These examples of evidence may be used for any of these educational practices: direct teaching, work integrated learning, HDR, or educational leadership. But your leadership, your teaching and curricular materials, your feedback and evaluation, you'll get that in HDR, you'll get that in most of the things you do. For supervision and student support, there's things like, I have to change my glasses, but evidence of strategies to support effective and timely HDR planning, progress and completion. Very specific. You will have that. You'll have this sort of information. From student learning and performance data, that'll support some of your claims. You're going to have professional engagement and development, similar to what you mentioned down there, Hasib. There's industry and external engagement. There's recognition and scholarly contributions. These are the types of evidence you can have. There's more, but this is what a lot of people have used over a lot of time. So they're the kinds of evidence you can provide. Now, when I talk about a template, when I talk about this is what you're going to do, for some of you, this is new, for others, it's not. This is the template. You have your reviewer details, the reviewee details, but here you select your teaching capability. And let's just grab this one. And then you put your reflection in there. When I talk about reflective practice, when I talk about your narrative, etc., it's 600 words maximum. And this is where you put it. You then link out here to your supporting evidence. As I said, that's sometimes a OneDrive, that's sometimes conference papers. We don't need we don't need a long list there. What we need is you to have it in a folder potentially that we can access that says, here's the folder on my conference presentations, or here's the folder on X. So this isn't a 4-page link. You're organising it in a nice, concise, accessible way for your reviewer. And then down here is where your reviewer puts his or her comments, put their comments, and they're at 400 words, and they're commenting that's where the review is. They're able to say, I looked at all the evidence provided, I looked at the claims, and here's my reviewer comments. So 400 words. And you do that for 3 capabilities. At the end, there's an overview from the peer reviewer, and then a sign off from the peer reviewer and a date. So that's the output. That goes to DPC. it gets attached to your application. Not all the evidence. The evidence is separate. All righty. No hands at this stage. We're nearly there. This year, there were a couple of things to consider, and those rocks are for balance. Canis, I see your hand. We will get to you. For balance, the balance of the breadth and the depth. We don't need a shopping list. We don't need too much information, but the depth is really very handy. Explicitly link the evidence to your to the narrative to be clear about how your evidence links to the claims. Sometimes we get something that is it's almost like a shopping list, and it says, here's all the things I've done. And you're looking through it and you think, yeah, I can see you've done that, but what are you saying? What am I reviewing? What is it? What is it about your teaching practice, your excellent teaching practice that supports this? And then the critical reflection supports your claims. Many of you will already be reflective practices. You won't need any nudging in this space, but for others who perhaps are less inclined to do that, it really does help. It really will help. However you choose to do it, we're not judging that. That's not our business. But it does let you make sure you get to the so what. Not just the what and the how. I did this and this is how I did it. The so what, the what next, the what impact does that make. It also gives you a chance to show you how your practice has improved, which will support your learning narrative to say, I'm now ready for this level. Your promotion narrative that says, I'm now ready for this level. All right, Canis, please go ahead. Thank you for waiting.
Sure, thank you. I just have a quick questions. So I'm using the peer review for my HDR supervisions, right? So I just wondered the evidence for these teaching, right? Because this is my only teachings I have. So I just wonder for the evidence to prove for the HDR, would that be the publications output, would that be one kind of the evidence to prove as an evidence to support my teaching in this occasion?
Your teaching practice. So yes, when we look back here, when I look at the teaching framework, there's a section in there that talks about scholarly contributions. So you'd look at, here we are, may I suggest you consider scholarly activity that contributes to the HE sector. Now, depending what level you're going at would be the one that you would show your evidence towards. It may be that you show that evidence at level B or C. May not be that you show it at D or E, even if you are going for that. You can't provide evidence if you haven't got it. But that's something for you to consider there. There's also the mentoring people, mentor peers to build capacity. You can do that. There are
okay, yeah, okay.
And then over here on this one, a lot of our HDR people, effective teaching strategies aligned with institutional expectations. So you can evaluate your own contribution to effective teaching practice. So when you're doing your HDR supervision, there's handbooks and things that you will follow. They're going to be aligned with institutional practices. You're going to have evidence that you do that because you have your 6 monthly reports, you have your 6 monthly contacts, you have your regular contact with your students, you have probably emails, endless emails there will be things once you get into that mindset, there will be things that you can produce that showcase that yes, I can do this. Yes, I do this.
Okay, yes, lovely. Thank you.
No problem. Right. And I think that I had a couple of tiny ones from 2025 reviews. Start the process early, engage with it, align your examples to the level, and seek feedback from your managers and colleagues, especially on the selection of capabilities. Now, some of you won't need to do that. That's fine. If you read them and you think, yeah, these are mine. These are the three. I'm doing it. Fabulous. If you do need a bit more, please do seek feedback from your manager and colleagues so they can guide you. So that's it from me from a presentation point of view. I'm glad that we got questions as we go through, but I would first of all, thank you for your time. And secondly, invite any questions at any time to the peer review team. Anything, just let us know and we'll see what we can do. We'll help you through whatever it is that comes up. Hello, Joshua, I see your hand. Please go ahead.
Hey, Deborah, thanks. So I just had a question because, I did start this process a couple of years ago, 2024. I had my peer review done. I wasn't able to end up submitting for for promotion in the end because I just ran out of time to get all my other evidences.
Yes.
You did say that the peer review of teaching is valid for 2 years, right? So I could
Yes, it
potentially use that if I wanted. It was based on my teaching work from the year before, mostly 2023. Because also the thing is, I was on a teaching focused role. That's why last year I wasn't able to apply for promotion because I then switched to teaching research. So I guess I'm in a bit of two minds. I'm like, can I use that previous one where I had more teaching to actually call on, more to review? Or would that be seen as a potential weakness of, well, why is he using one from 2 years ago? Has he not done anything in between? And should I then just do another one? Or can I have multiples so that they can see, well, this is what he had 2 years ago, and this is a new review of his practice now, and highlight more of the changes, or potentially focus on a different aspect. That first one, I was more teaching on my direct teaching activities, whereas now, in the last year, I've done more of, course review kind of stuff and possibly more evidences of that level C teaching at that higher input level rather than, the first one showed my good teaching practice, but more of that face-to-face level B stuff that I was doing.
It's a really interesting question, and I thank you for sharing it publicly because it is the kinds of things that people will be asking their reviewers, their managers. You're welcome to ask me, and from a peer review point of view, I can say you won't be disadvantaged for using a peer review that's 2 years old. Okay, so number one, no, that nobody's going to look and say, why did they do that? Most of us, people are going to say, you've got the peer review. It's attached to your promotion application. That was what you're required to do. So don't feel that you must do it. Now, that's providing it's 2 years old. If it's a little older, you will need to do another one, or I think 1 year we did send a request to DPC because it was a matter of months.
It was done during 2024. And so does it matter then exactly when I submitted during 2026, if it is a matter of, months then?
I don't think so, but let us know. Let us know which one it is, and then we will just clarify with DPC to be sure at this early stage.
Yep.
The second thing is you're showcasing excellent teaching to support your promotion narrative. So if your promotion narrative says, I'm now going for level C because I've been a course director, and my peer review shows that this is what I've done in the course director role. So it almost gives you space in your learning in your promotion narrative to note that was covered in your peer review, and to actually use that limited space we've all got for the promotion application to use that to advance your case, if you like. So that's a consideration. Another consideration would be the depth and breadth of evidence that you've got. So when you're doing your intent to apply, and I don't want to get into too much of this, but when you do your intent to apply in the current form, you're able to say, I'm choosing to weight my practice at this. 30% teaching, 40%, 50, 60% HDR supervision, or whatever it is. You're choosing to weight it in your way. Therefore, your promotion narrative must be really clearly link that. And if you're linking your promotion narrative to your peer review, that's what you'd link it to. So if you're weighting mainly HDR supervision in your application for peer review, then in your application for promotion, then your peer review should support that, would be my advice. It doesn't have to. Your peer review could then showcase your teaching practice. So it's a decision you'll need to make in that respect. From a peer review point of view, we're happy to do another one. If you'd like another one, we're happy to pop you on the list and pair you up with a peer reviewer.
Yeah. So it sounds like is the option then of showing either the breadth or the depth down one line, as in should I tailor it where the peer review directly yeah, so don't go peer review to show teaching and then other evidences to show HDR. You think I should be more streamlined as this is what I want to hold up as my reason for promotion and tailor everything kind of towards that.
I think that that's what you will get to in your promotion application, but I may be wrong. Your particular strength might be that you are across these areas. That you are actually, that's what your story is. I'm really, really across these. I have breadth and depth.
Yeah.
So, but do talk to your supervisor about this, and colleagues. You've got great colleagues out. Talk to them and bounce ideas around.
Thanks, Seb.
No problem. It's a pleasure. Okay. I see we are out of time, so I see many people have said thank you and have left. Some of you are still here, but we're finished. Thank you very much. We'll stop the recording now, and I will stay around in case anybody wants to ask any other questions. My pleasure.